Hello, Foxy. It's your birthday. Not for real, just for play. This is Cree Summer, and Moana Nui will be right back.
Good evening, everyone. I am Joyride, and this is
James.
My co-host and producer. And today welcome to another episode of THIStory, Hidden History. And today's history segment is going to be all about the history of Korea. Now, let me preface this with a disclaimer. I'm doing this because this show is supposed to be about all the various backgrounds of different people. So yes, we get into Black history, but we also get into Hawaii history. We get into Spanish and Mexican history, two very different things.
Mm-hmm.
We are exploring ways to get into the history of the west side of the African continent. But today we're doing Korean history because it's my show. I do what I want to do. And I felt like I should. The reason I said I should is I've spent the last 800 something odd days playing Duolingo and learning Korean because I got into K-dramas and K-pop and Stray Kids and all this other stuff. And I didn't want to be a culture vulture. I didn't want to just sing the songs and do the things and not know what it meant, as so many people do. As so many African Americans claim that other people do to us, I didn't want to be that person and do it to somebody else. So I was like, let me look into the history of Korea. And this summer, I guess you'd call it, or a few months ago, massive change, massive surge in interest of all things Korean with the streaming of the movie K-pop Demon Hunters.
Naturally.
I will admit, I'm one of them. I got the little Derpy Tiger. I just want to knock something over so he can look at and try to pick it up over and over. And so we're going to talk about him. But so this particular little animal sparked so much interest across the world because they're like, why does he look goofy? And what's with the goofy tiger? And they even call him Derpy Tiger.
Yeah, they do.
After that. Yeah. I got this off of Netflix because they got some money from me because the movie was that good. But let's get into the history of that. So K-pop Demon Hunters. You know this movie.
Yeah, we do. We know the movie all too well.
Are you going to put the picture up?
Of course I'm going to put the picture up. Patience, grasshopper.
So, the movie. This is what, I won't say it started it, but it definitely caused a resurgence. I would say that BTS probably was the originators of this massive interest in Korea and all things K-pop and Korean history, etc. But the next picture shows a historical image of this derpy tiger.
This guy.
And so, people thought that this tiger looked weird for no reason. This is a piece of period art from, I'm not exactly sure the period, but what you're seeing depicted here are the aristocracy and the common person, because Korea as a nation, before it was Korea, when it was still, before it was even Joseon, way back in the day, before a lot of the modern advances, before they had their own alphabet, they followed Chinese government. And so aristocrats, even though they spoke Korean or that version of ancient Korean, they wrote in Chinese, or they wrote in Chinese characters. And it was considered a level of, elitism to even know how to read and write. Because as some of you may know, if you've ever studied Mandarin or Cantonese, etc., that writing in a Chinese language is extremely different. I'm not going to say difficult because English is crazy, but it's different. And learning the characters is very different. And to learn characters in a language that you're not speaking caused a lot of early Korean peasants to be left out of modernization, left out of society for the most part, because they could speak, but they couldn't read or write Chinese, and there was nothing else to do. So Let me see if I pull my stuff up correctly. When did this come across?
Mm-hmm.
There is a if I know this might not be in order, but pull up the picture of the statue that I sent you.
Oh, okay. I'm getting to that now.
Mm-hmm.
Incoming.
Mm-hmm. What he's about to show you is a picture of King Sejong the Great. And so you can see like the character at the bottom of this, the first ones, it looks like a triangle and a dot and two lines. That's Se. The next little section is Jong. And so that was his name. And then Tae Hang. I believe that stands for like emperor, king, etc. But King Sejong, he created the Hangul or the Korean alphabet. And this was around what year? 1443. Because he wanted to increase literacy among the common people. So when you talk about being a king of the people, about being all about the people that you are supposed to be in charge of and take care of, they said he was more of a father figure than an emperor because he cared so much. And there was a saying that said, a wise man can master the Korean alphabet or the Hangul alphabet in an afternoon. But an unwise man can master it in 10 days. Meaning, if you're already used to speaking Chinese and writing and you already know how to write language, then you can pick this up pretty quickly. But even if you've never written a word before, you can write this in a week and a half. Meaning he opened up access to different forms of communication, different levels of communication, different levels of responsibility and accountability, because now I know what you put on this paper when you're trying to steal my land from me. So it was an amazing creation, amazing transformation for Korea. Again, it was in 1443, so this is a long time ago. The alphabet was officially published and spread in 1446, and unfortunately, he died in 1450. So not too long after he created the Korean alphabet, he passed away. But that's why there's so much reverence and honor for him, because he changed Korea. He was the fourth king of the Joseon dynasty. So a little bit about him, just so you understand that Korean history runs deep. Now, back to this tiger thing. Around the same time where they're getting away from, not leaving, but drifting from Chinese style of government, which was extremely hierarchical. If you were a king or a queen or emperor or royalty, you didn't mix with anybody else. If you were a statesman, like one level under royalty, you still were considered from a good family. A lot of things were passed down. It was giving like monarchy, Victorian England, the peasants and the lords and blah, blah, blah.
Gotcha.
It was very strict.
Caste or class system, yeah.
Yeah, very strict class system. And although there were some chances to move from one to another, you could marry in, very, very rare. But as they were getting away from it, people in the common levels, the peasants, if you will, started to look side eye at some of these royals. Because remember, royals that stick to themselves tend to be inbred. It is just the way things go. And put up the picture of Korea, if you will.
Yes.
It ain't that big, right? So where are you going? Who are you talking to? Right, look at this. This is, I think all of North and South Korea together are probably around the size of the Iberian Peninsula, meaning, Spain, Portugal, et cetera, et cetera. It ain't big. And so if you were using a lot of classism to keep people separated, there is this thing about the beauty standards in Korea and the space between eyes. And it was seen that if your eyes were spaced a little far apart, that it was a sign of royalty, you can take this down, of royalty, of beauty, of good genes, good blood, etc. But what it really is a sign of slight inbreeding. Your eyes are too far apart because you're slightly inbred, but you're inbred because you do come from a royal line, blah, blah, blah. Now, that being said, as we have seen with European inbred royals, things start to go wrong slowly but surely. I think they controlled it for to some extent because you did have all of China over there. You know, you get influxes of marrying for political reasons from time to time. So it wasn't as in a vacuum as it was in Europe. But they weren't all that smart, neither. And once the peasants and once the like lower classes started learning how to read and write, then you start to realize you're not smart. You just knew Chinese. I think you might be an idiot. And the symbology of the tiger is supposed to be strong. The tiger is supposed to be, you know, one of the mountain gods, like, you know, it's peerless and fearless, etc. And so the aristocracy took on the symbolism of the tiger. And the peasants would draw it like this. And we know you're stupid. Right? It is one of my favorite examples of silent protest, you know, and the magpie comes in because the magpie represented the common folks, because if you think about it, it's a much more common bird, less regal, etc. But if you watch K-pop Demon Hunters, you'll hear Jinu, the main male lead, they're asking about this little hat that the magpie keeps wearing. And Jinu says, I made it for the tiger, but magpie keeps taking it. Mm-hmm. And again, this movie had a lot of cultural shout outs in it. That means the hat was used to represent the power. And so I made it for the tiger, but the magpie keeps taking it. You know, so there's a, and then also even the way the tiger is portrayed in the movie, just goofy as all get out, obsessed with like trying to like turn something over, and just cute,
failing miserably.
Yes, failing miserably. So I love, and that caused a lot of people to want to get into like, what else do I need to know about Korea? What else is going on there? So I'm going to run down a few highlights for the history of Korea. We started with King or Emperor Sejong and creating the Korean alphabet. I started off, I think, as 28 letters, and it is now 24. Okay. Tony, thank you. I'm going to get into that. So he said he picked up on the relationship between China and Korea while watching Bon Appetit, Your Majesty, which is a K-drama on Netflix. I just finished it myself a couple weeks ago, and it is really good. And it does get into like some of the trade agreements that were happening and how anybody that studies history knows that empires are destroyed from within. And watching how this king's family tried to bring him down just because they mad because they weren't king. You know, some distant cousin got a beef with you. And so he starts trying to do back end deals with the Chinese and get them to basically pick a fight with you so you can cut up. I mean, it was deep. It was deep. But one thing that was real from a historical standpoint about Bon Appetit, Your Majesty, was trading in ginseng. And so even now we know, you know, ginseng drinks, you know, America, we love to take something and turn it into a gummy or a pill or something. But ginseng, and particularly wild ginseng, meaning it's not cultivated, just grew wild, seem to have a whole lot of medicinal properties. It still does. You know, take your ginseng and your ginkgo biloba and blah, blah, blah for memory and health and blood pressure and everything else. And it was one of their major exports to China. And in this particular drama, the Chinese emissary was trying to basically take all the ginseng out of Korea. And it was one of the points of the show. So thank you, Tony, for bringing that up. As a matter of fact, we're going to go back and forth between dramas and history, so we can talk about how they all come together. Yeah. What I also do like is similar to what you see in a lot of like, I'll say American cinema, but a Black American cinema to a more extent. There are a lot of historical nods. Like you think about all of the nods that you saw in like Sinners.
Yes.
But also in what was it called? The Watchmen, and in Lovecraft Country. A lot of shout outs to a lot of different things. And so I see a lot of that happening in drama. This is a lighthearted romance movie, right? But they call back to some of the things that actually happen. And so speaking of some other highlights that have happened in Korean history, why did I lose my highlights? We talked about King Sejong the Great. Let's see if I can go back because I lost my page. Okay. Before there was, so the reason they called it Korea is because before there was the Joseon dynasty, which we'll say that actually lasted to like 1897. So while we were over here, fighting Jim Crow, they were at the end of the Joseon dynasty, which lasted, the Joseon dynasty went from 1392. And so think about the timing. 1392, Columbus sails in 14 something, right? 1490 something, so like 100 years. 100 years before Columbus set sail, they were already building palaces, setting up government, or like what we would term a modern government. They already, what else did they do? They created a sundial, a rain gauges. Like, we talk about so many inches of rain. Yeah, they had that way before we did, right? And so it's, again, very, very rich history. But before all of this, it was called Gojo Zone, which is, we'll call it 2300 BC. So before Jesus, they were there, right? And if you look at, I did a little research before, if you look at the like DNA phenotypes of like Japan, Korea, and China, they are different. A lot of people like to assume, like if you would put up a picture of like China, Korea, Japan, like the whole eastern side of the globe.
Oh yeah. Get that up for you.
A lot of people, 1492. So thank you, Tony. So it was exactly 100 years later.
Years before Columbus, yeah.
But a lot of people like to assume that Korean is just Chinese. And like, look at how big China is, right? You got Mongolia above China, and then Russia above that, and Russia's all off the map. And so like I said, from a size standpoint, Korea, North and South together are about the size of, maybe twice the size of Italy, give or take, right? Japan is over there, taking up the islands. And Japan, to be so small, is vicious, little, evil. Well, I'm exaggerating. They are not that way now. However, the same way, again, when we talk about similarities, the same way that so many things have been colonized by the tiny little island of England in the UK, you saw similar attempts at colonization from Japan trying to get at Korea, because that was an entryway to getting at China and to trying to do all of things. China also wanted to annex as well. Everybody wanted a piece of this. The ginseng not being the only reason. Okay, so
right.
Excuse me. So some other highlights from Korea. So there was a golden age right after, we'll say 600 AD. So 668 to 935, there's Buddhism is promulgated across the land. Temples are being built to Buddha. It was a golden age of culture and art. Again, they started drawing things like this. And then you get into the Goryeo or Goryeo. So that's how you would say it, Goryeo dynasty, 918 to 1392. So this is the last dynasty before the Joseon dynasty, which is before modern day Republic of Korea, blah, blah, blah. And so the Goryeo dynasty, 918 to 1392, this is when the name Korea originated, right? Because in that Hangul language, the G and the K, very similar, just depends on what kind of accent or what sort of emphasis you put on it. Like, for example, the verb go is kada. However, it is spelled with what we might call a G, ga. But depending on how hard you swallow when you say it, ga, 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 it all sounds very similar. And they will also, part of the Hangul language characters is, if it's a serious emphasis, they double it up. Kind of the same way we might say somebody's done, or somebody's mad. They will put an extra letter or double up the character, the lines on the character to emphasize, add more air in your voice when you say this. So you have ba, and then you have ba, two different things, right? Which reminds me of the thing. So what y'all don't know is James is actually learning Japanese.
Same thing.
There's a video. There's a guy on Instagram that talks about how many different things are same but different. If you got time, James, when I'm talking, pull up one of those videos. So the difference between like ga and ka, two different characters. But if you're speaking really fast, really quickly, you won't know it. So anyway, Goryeo became Korea, right? And that's the name that they still use today, People's Republic of North Korea, and then the Republic of South Korea. I believe that's what I've got, right? So Joseon Dynasty lasted until 1897, and that's when we started getting into, colonial times. So there are a lot of content creators on TikTok, Instagram, etc., that like to bring up, side-eye in Japan the same way we side-eye, like white people, like, y'all did some nonsense. Don't act like we ain't forgot, right? It wasn't that long ago. So Japan formally annexed Korea in 1910. Around the same time that we were getting, beat up around Jim Crow and left out of society, et cetera, United States. So from a suffering and subjugation standpoint, this is where I say Koreans on the peninsula and African Americans start to have a lot in common with having to live with and almost live for your oppressor. There was a lot of, I'd be doing it a disservice if I just called it misogyny, but I also don't want to go too deep into the sexual exploitation that happened. Put it this way, if you don't know why Black people call white people honkies, then do some research. And that is nothing compared to the comfort women that were used in Korea. Like, again, I don't want to get too deep into it because I also don't want to misquote it because I haven't done enough research to make it perfect. So, but just know that 1910, the Joseon Dynasty ended and a period of exploitation and cultural suppression started because Japan came in and was like, bye, 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 do what we said. Now, independence movement started in like 9 years later. The Koreans were like, man, F this, this is some nonsense. Anyway, let me not act up. But Japan kept intensifying their assimilation policies. Assimilation sounds real familiar to us, right? They even conscripted Korean labor, Korean soldiers, basically enslaving them. Once again, sharecropping, Jim Crow, very similar in the amount of suffering that came at the hands of an occupying group, So then you get into World War II. And Korea is kind of in it, but kind of not, right? But they were conscripted by Japan. And after Japan was defeated in World War II, the peninsula was divided. And this is where we get the DMZ, the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. And ironically, even though Japan were the ones that were in there, after the war, Russia took over, I guess you say, stewardship of North Korea, and the United States took over stewardship of South Korea. And so basically they switched landlords, so to speak, right? Now, this demilitarized zone is a heavily fortified border, and it still exists to this day. And that brings us to our next K-drama. Pull up the one with the soldier. And Tony, I don't know if you put this comment up. Crash Landing on You. Now, if you like K-dramas, you should absolutely watch this video. Not only is it excellent, not only at the time was this not one of the prettiest men I've ever seen in my life, but this couple, they had worked together before, but the time they spent doing this K-drama led to them getting married. And I think they have 1 or 2 kids now. And so it's just a great love story, and it's a great show, but it makes fun of it to some extent. It's kind of a ridiculous premise. She's like hang gliding and accidentally ends up in North Korea and she got to get back home to South Korea. But the show itself does a good job of showing you what life is like or could be like north of that demilitarized zone, and how dangerous it is to try to cross that zone, and how different the cultures have evolved over time, because they all learned Korean language. They all use the same alphabet. The alphabet predates all of that, but similar to how somebody from New York doesn't sound like somebody from Texas, the dialects, the language shifted over time because they've been separated for, at this point, about 80 years, right? And they've started to develop differently. And so there is a push to try to unify once again. Not a heavy push, but it is there, right? Okay. And so we've got the demilitarized zone. Now, South Korea experienced some rapid economic development in the 70s and 80s, which led to them becoming a democratic republic in 1987, which seems pretty recent. I was born in 1987, right? But that rapid economic
87.
development, yeah, Samsung, looking at you, right? And speaking of, like how we talk about the Waltons and the Koch brothers, the Samsung is the Koch brothers of Korea, of South Korea. Like a lot of K-dramas will have some rich family that owns like a whole city or whatever, and they influence government and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That might just be them. And so one of the other things that I wanted to get into, and I don't want to, do you have any questions for me, James, as I go through this?
No, but I did find one of those IG vids you love to torture me with because I'm learning Japanese. I don't want to share this because you just gonna hurt me all over again.
I think we should share it though, because it's great. So one of the things about, like, okay, before you hit start. So the thing about a lot of languages, a lot of sounds sound the same. Like if I say bear, do I mean bear the animal? Do I mean bear it like endure it? Or do I mean bear like butt naked? Right?
Like TOO, TOO, or TWO.
Right. And so a lot of languages have idioms or homonyms, things like that. But in Japan,
why are you doing
they take it to a whole nother level. And Tony, yeah, crash landing on you isn't in English, but it's worth the subtitles, my boy. It is way better hearing them speak in Korean and reading the subtitles. Like I'm a big fan of watching anime in English because I ain't got time to read all that, but I watch K-dramas in Korean with English subtitles. One, because it helps me learn the language, and two, is just hearing their voice and and noting some of the differences is just better. But watch it; it's worth watching. Now, Japanese. Let's hear what they got to go.
Oh Lord.
Japanese. Bobby. What about Ken? King. What was sword in Japanese? King. What was fist? King. Prefecture. King. Hopping. King. How do you say a ticket to hopping rates? King. Tell Ken the healthy and dangerous fist and sword fight is an experience, so Kagawa Prefecture's ticket to hopping rights needs to be bought. Kingか経験やけん健康元気か経験やけん香川県買うけん What's Barbie in Japanese?
Barbie. And yeah, like sometimes he'll draw the characters and they'll look exactly the same and be two different words, and he'll go same but different. And what he's really referring to is contextual clues. Like I said, am I saying I want two, as in I want the number two, I want two of something, or am I saying I want to do something, or I want something also? It just depends on the context of what I'm talking. Tony says worse than English. Yeah, that's pretty bad. That was pretty bad.
I don't appreciate this abuse on the language I'm studying right now. I'm trying to learn. This is. I didn't need this torture tonight. I could stay home.
No. It's also a matter of very small differences in like the way your mouth forms a word. Matter of fact, I forgot to say that about the Hangul alphabet. When King Sejong was creating it, he created with the help of his daughter. So I appreciated the progressiveness even back then, that she helped him create he didn't, tell her not to wear her pretty little head about it, whatever. But a lot of the shapes of the Korean characters are based on the shape your mouth makes when you make the sound, which is why it was so easy to learn, And so, for example, the M is shaped like a box because when you make an M, your mouth is closed like a box. And the N sound is like down and over. The good sound is over and down because that's what your tongue does inside your mouth, either down and over and down, or good. So, and this is my personal notice or understanding that speaking Korean as a whole is a very guttural language. is a whole lot of feeling like you're about to swallow, or feeling like maybe you're nasal, like you have a cold. For example, the word yes is spelled, we would call it N-E, nay. And everybody, if you say nay, everybody knows you mean yes. Now, it also means my and some other things, but nay. Now, when you hear it in a K-drama, you will hear them say they. And it sounds like they said D-E, day. I'm like, is it nay or day? And the answer is they, which if you hold your breath, when you say it, you will sound correct, they. And so it is a matter of understanding how air flows. A lot of it is based on how air flows through your nasal passages. It is fascinating, and I love it. You know?
Okay.
But yeah, Japanese, all I know is what Meg Thee Stallion taught me. Oka nes kasegu watashi wa sta. Sta, 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 sta. Kira, kira. Watashi wa sta. He know who I be. I'm sorry.
I am a star.
See,
Watashi.
you're learning. Watashi.
Watashi is I. Wa is the verb is or to be. Sta, star.
So that's another thing that I've noticed about Japanese, Korean, Chinese, some of the Eastern languages, is that they sound more like what Americans would call broken English that Black people speak than they do sounding like European language. Like if I wanted to say, I'd be going, that would be correct, or where you at? Like there's certain things as I'm looking at, I'm like, this sounds more like the way I speak naturally. And that just brings us all the way back around to African-American vernacular English. A lot of AAVE does follow language rules. The only reason people think it's broken English or whatever is because they like to just, poop on Black people. But it follows language rules. And those rules are more common across the world than they are just with like European standards of English.
Sterilization of language. Just call it what it is.
Call it what it is. Yeah.
Because as I have to keep reminding myself when I'm translating from Japanese to English, the sentence is backwards.
Yeah. They don't say I'm going home. I home am going.
Right. So that's what it would be. And I have to constantly remind myself, okay, this is the verb the verb is always at the end of the sentence. Or whatever is happening. Doesn't matter what other words preceded, but the main verb is always at the end of the sentence, and you work your way backwards.
Right. And so if you wanted to say, I'm going home to call my sister, you would end up saying, I to my sister call home am going. Yeah. And so it feels a little weird, but once you get used to it, it makes perfect sense, So yeah, learn another language. It helps you get another appreciation for other things that are out there.
And it's mental exercise. Keeps your brain sharp.
Yes. Keeps your brain sharp. Now, what's wild is knowing a touch of Spanish, a good bit of French, and let's say I'm maybe 30% fluent in Korean, and hearing words that you're not sure what language it was and you just heard. Like if I hear like gaso, okay, was that Korean for go and, or was that Mexican Spanish for gas? What am I hearing? Right. And it's so where am I? Who am I talking to? That might make all the difference in the world, But yeah. Korea is cool. Now, moving on with what we were talking about. So we talked about what was the original name of Korea? We talked about Gojoseon. We talked about the Goryeo dynasty. We talked about the Joseon dynasty. And then Japan came in and started mucking about and messing with everybody, trying to subjugate people and annex Korea. Korea was like, we're not having it. And then they gained independence. And then World War II, the Korean War. So after World War II, you got North Korea and South Korea. The Korean War was in 1950. After that, where North Korea just invaded South Korea, caused millions of casualties, and it ended in 3 years later. And that led to the demilitarized zone that we have now. So I was a little bit off by that. It didn't come after. It was there as a line before the Korean War, but it became a full-on demilitarized space. I want to say maybe a mile or two between the two sections of North and South Korea where no fly, no drive, no walking. Like if you get caught in there, that's your ass.
That's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, back to this combination of like K-drama. So all of this historical stuff, pull up the picture of the two people that look surprised. You can actually, so as Tony was mentioning earlier, so this is actually a picture. This encompasses a lot of things. So the lady on the right, in other pictures, she's dressed up as the king because this is a K-drama called The King's Affection. And the premise of that show is the king, the real king, had a twin. And unfortunately, they used to dress up as each other, kind of a prince and a pauper kind of thing. The girl was out there being a peasant. The guy was a prince. Guy accidentally gets killed. So they bring the girl in to pretend to be him for the rest of her life. And so she has to bind her chest and look like a man and everything. And this is the time where nobody cut the hair. So you didn't really know who was who. Everybody was pretty. We got the eyes, her eyes are spaced the way they should be to be royal. And actually she's an amazing actress. She also, this is the same woman that played in, oh my goodness.
I would say you should know because you watch way more than I do.
Oh, Extraordinary Attorney Wu.
As who?
She's Wu. Look at
She's
her.
Wu.
Yes. You had to cut her hair short, and she's not. Wu isn't her. The haircut they gave her in that show didn't allow her to be pretty. It allowed her to be cute. She's pretty in this picture, but yeah, The King's Affection is good. I definitely recommend it. Yeah. And but yeah, that's her. That is Extraordinary Attorney Wu. She did, yeah, and like Tony said, she was very cute, but she's pretty in that picture. She also is in another one called.
I can't, because like Wu looks like is a totally different person.
Yeah. You got to look at the eyes. Like you look at Wu's eyes, you look at her, and you're like, okay, that's her from the eyes. Now, there's one other show that she was in recently called Castaway Diva. Put that picture back up because I was going back to that.
Oh, okay.
One of the other things that I've noticed around Korean entertainers, and this could just be what we are presented as outsiders, is they be triple threats. So the actress on the right, let me see if I can pull up her name. Let's see.
So singing, dancing, acting.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, her name is Park Eun-bin.
Okay.
Park Eun-bin. That's another thing. America, we need to do better. People that are in charge in America need to do better with understanding other names. We're gonna get into Che in just a second, but Park Eun-bin, she is the main character. She also is in Extraordinary Attorney Wu and in Castaway Diva. And now in Castaway Diva, you discover your girl can sing.
Oh.
And I'm not talking about just see if I can pull up a bigger picture of her. I'm not talking about just carry a tune. I'm talking in this show, Castaway Diva, she was trying to be an idol. She gets left on the island for a few years. Don't ask me why. And then she gets found again, and she still has a great singing voice. And this woman sang all her own songs in the show. When I tell you she had range, she had stability. The other people need to be lucky that she didn't decide to be an idol, because she would have ate their lunch, because she can sing her butt off. And ironically, the guy standing next to her in this picture is Rowoon. Now, Rowoon is a pop star from a fourth generation group called SF9. And so he is taller than your average Korean. Matter of fact, SF9 as a group is known for being some tall monsters. Like all of them are over 6 feet. And it's weird when they walk in the room. Like, what is this? But so you have two people that can really sing. Yes. Yeah. And this one was set in the Joseon times as one of the many kings of the 700-year stretch that was in there. But yeah, it's another good show. King's Affection is good. And Castaway Diva is good as well. And it does a good job of showing you a little bit behind the K-pop industry and like how idols are made and the decisions that they have to make, and how there's so much talent that gets overlooked, which brings us all the way back around to K-pop Demon Hunters, right? If you know the story,
Gotcha.
the main singer that does Rumi's singing, Rumi being the main character in the show,
Right.
the one that sings Rumi's voice, her name is EJ, EJAE. And she wanted to be an idol a long time ago. Sometimes you go through these cycles where you don't debut and you don't get your shot or whatever. And then she kind of aged out. And that's another thing, like, the whole aging out of being a K-pop idol is ridiculous to me. That's not my thing. But she aged out, so to speak. But she's a great songwriter. Matter of fact, she's written a lot of songs that a lot of people would know if they listen to K-pop, because she's a very prolific songwriter. As this movie was taking shape, they needed some songs for the movie. They wanted to do some stuff. And she, like the song Golden, the one that recently went platinum, she wrote that in her car on the way to a, yeah.
Hey.
She just sitting in her car. It's our moment. Yeah, let's use that. And she just did a voice memo to herself, platinum. And I think it's beautiful that she didn't get her shot as a K-pop idol. And then, Hollywood, or it was Netflix, so we're going to call it Hollywood. They didn't want to pay like Lisa or Jisoo or a member of Blackpink or anyone to be the voice of these 3 stars. So they picked a couple solo artists, and her, since she wrote the song, she knows how to sing it. Let's just let her sing it for a very, lower price than they would have to pay,
if you will,
megastars. So yeah, they thought they were getting, good enough, and they got excellent. And K-pop Demon Hunter soundtrack went platinum, and it stayed at the #1 spot all summer long on Spotify. They only got knocked down by Stray Kids when they put out a new album.
Of course.
Yes, because Stray Kids is awesome. Yes. But again, being a triple threat. So she's a songwriter and a singer, and she probably could act if they gave her a shot. And you do see a lot of people that go from the idol, because dancing hard on stage, you ain't got but so many years you can do that. Just ask, Johnny Gill. And eventually you got to do something else. So you see a lot of K-pop idols, as they quote unquote age out of being a teeny bopper, move into movies and acting. And they're really good at it. Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about, beyond the war and the DMZ and everything else, we've talked about the we talked about the history there. So this love affair that the rest of the world is now having with, Korean culture is called the Hallyu. Almost sounds like hallelujah, but Hallyu means Korean wave, which is this something that when BTS became really popular, maybe 6-7 years ago, give or take?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, 10 years ago, whenever their first album, and they were just some cutesy K-pop, felt like some sort of bubblegum thing. And they slowly matured to the point where RM is respected as a statesman. They are ambassadors and to other countries and ambassadors on behalf of Korea's culture. And so they're more than just a band. Like, they are statesmen, so to speak. And they still did their military service, because they ain't no kind of draft dodgers. Yeah. And Tony, you make a good point. Sony's kicking themselves for selling K-pop Demon Hunters to Netflix. So Sony made the movie for like $20 million, and then they sold it for pennies on the dollar to Netflix because they thought it was going to bomb. And this is where what I do on a daily basis when I do diversity, equity, inclusion, when I talk about people want good stories, and it doesn't matter where it comes from, but because it didn't star any big names that were going to be seen on screen, and because it didn't have, Timothée Chalamet in it or something, they were like, it's probably not going to do well. Let's just throw a bone to Netflix and dump this because it's going to flop. And then Netflix is like, we'll take it. And you see that a lot with up and coming entertainment industry entities, because Fox as a channel, before they became Fox News and the rest of this, Fox used to put all the Black shows. Like, when you look back at Living Single was on Fox. The Martin Lawrence show was on Fox. Living Color was on Fox. And then when they got big and bad, they abandoned us and turned into like MAGA Central, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so Netflix is like, we'll try anything once. And they didn't even publicize it. They just put it out.
Put it out there, yeah.
And it was so popular, and it was such like right venue at the right time that it became huge. And not only that, It became the #1 streaming thing. It's still in the top 10 right now after months, but they released it in the movie theater as a sing-along. And guess who showed up at the movie theater singing along? Yeah, at the top of my voice. One of those songs called Free is so beautiful, it'll break your heart. And then there's another one at the end. This is what it sounds like.
Yes.
It's an anthem. It's an anthem similar to This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. It's that level of cry your eyes out for self-expression kind of anthem. So yeah, Sony did a stupid thing. But then again, it was their turn because Nintendo did a stupid thing 40 years ago when they decided not to release the Nintendo PlayStation. And Sony's like, we'll keep it. We'll do it ourselves. Because Sony built the PlayStation for Nintendo. Nintendo decided to stick with their cartridges.
Cartridge system,
like, we got a good thing. Let's rock this. I got a PS5 over here right now. So it was their turn to lose out. So Karma, which happens to be the name of the last Stray Kids album.
And to piggyback on your K-pop Demon Hunter sing along, they're doing another one. If I believe this weekend for Halloween, because I just got an email from AMC Theaters about, hey, come back to the movie theater, have a sing along with K-pop Demon Hunters. Because again,
I might have to do that and drag Erica with me. And it depends on if my wig gets here fast enough. Because I'm playing, me and Angela DeWilliams and a few other people are going to be Saja Boys at the AWA in December. I'm going to be Mystery, the one with the hair in his face. I've got my little sweater vest and my little shirt and jeans and everything. So I can go, ooh, along with everybody else. It's going to be great. And we also have the demon version. I got the little hat. The hat that the tiger was supposed to wear, but the magpie keeps wearing is the same hat. It's called a got, G-A-T, but pronounced got. So again, half G, half K sound. And it is a very formal and like upper level hat to wear with the beads and the chains. The beads all signify different things, different statuses, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, we're going to cosplay all of that in December. Nice. So one other thing I wanted to bring around is since I did a little bit of comparison on culture between like African American versus Korean and Korean American. I want to talk about this specifically. I said I was coming back to Che. So if you have a friend in your life and their last name is spelled C-H-O-I, in the United States and probably in the UK as well, they're going to tell you, like if their name was Jen C-H-O-I, that we would say Choi, because that's what it looks like to us because we're ignorant Americans. But it is really Che because the way it is spelled in Korean should be C-H-A-E if we were going to Americanize it or Romanize it. Some jerk a long time ago decided he was going to try to Romanize and use like the Roman alphabet for Korean names and language, etc. And he got most of it wrong. Like I look at what they tell me is supposed to say in like using English letters or Roman letters to spell Korean words. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Mm-hmm. Why didn't you just write CH? What is this? And like the biggest one for me is the twisting of sh and s. Mm. So there's a character that makes a s sound, and it's two double houses. So like something and say and sorry. Then there's a single house, which is the sh sound, which is much more common. They use that a lot, but like Yoshimi, like shush, a lot of shush, right? He switched those around, and it just messes everything up. But he doesn't use the sh at all. He has one single S for a single house, double S for double house, but that's not how it sounds. It should be sh for single house and capital S for the double house. Yeah. And thank you, Tony. I always ask American Koreans what their real names are to show enough respect. Exactly. It is not hard to pronounce someone's name correctly if you care at all. And so the cop out of, oh, it's too hard to say. No. Because you're over here saying Jake Gyllenhaal and Zach Galifianakis. So you can say Kim.
Mike Wachowski.
Yeah. Mike Wachowski, right? You can say all of that.
And mind you, Shashevsky starts with a K.
No sense. But hearing it and repeating what you hear versus trying to force your eyes to match letters. Just say, this image says Che. It's so easy. Matter of fact, going back to Stray Kids, they produce a lot of their own songs, but one of the guys that has always seemed to be with them, we call him like the 9th member of the band. I don't know his full name, but his moniker is Versa Che. And it looks like Versa Choi when you write it in English, but it's really Versa Che, which is a play on Versace, right? And so if you know how to pronounce Versace, you know how to pronounce his name, right? It's not Versa Choi, it's Versace. It's really cute. What else do we want to talk about to round out the hour? Let me see what else. Is there any pictures that I haven't put up yet?
No, that's all of them.
Okay, good. So we've gone through everything. So today we've talked about where Korea comes from as a word. North and South Korea are two parts of the same country, split by ideological division. And their languages are still the same, but there are dialect differences. So you can hear somebody from North Korea sounds different from somebody from South Korea. If you ask somebody where they're from, they are from South Korea or the Republic of South of Korea. People's Republic of North Korea is a different thing. Japan is the worst. And you should get into K-dramas. So here's another thing for all the women that might be watching this on repeat or whatever, and you are bored with, 911 and NCIS and Gilmore Girls and whatever hell else you're watching. A lot of K-dramas are written by women. And yes, so one of the reasons that we have with it, so you get too deep into it, you get delusional. They call it Delulu. And the word Delulu has sprung out of this love affair that people have with Korean boy bands, K-pop stars, and K-dramas, because the characters in K-drama, these are emotionally intelligent men who not afraid to cry and show you how they feel and catch you when you fall and all the things that women love that never happens in real life, right? And so if you find yourself watching too many dramas, you find yourself looking at the dude next to you like, ugh, why don't you never catch me when I fall? And he's like, you'll never fall. What's wrong with you, right? Where's your red umbrella? Girl, this umbrella is black. You better get in here. So yeah, it leads to a level of ridiculously high standards. And
I'm sorry, Gilmore Girls.
Gilmore Girls. I didn't mean to slam them. That was just the first name that came to mind.
I will take that heat. I will slam Gilmore Girls in a heartbeat.
Why? There's nothing wrong with Gilmore Girls.
Woo! You talk about your own worst enemy.
What? Oh,
yes. They are their own worst enemy. Always trying to figure out, well, how did my life turn out this way? Because you.
I mean, the same can be said for Girlfriends.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And you don't. You can watch all the episodes. And you don't. So there are some K-dramas that are trash, and there are some K-dramas that are not all K-dramas are romance. Like Squid Games is a K-drama because a lot of these monikers come from westernized understanding. And so K-pop is not a particular sound. It's any music coming out of Korea. And K-dramas is not a particular genre. It's anything coming out of Korea that is a serial show, usually between 10 and 16 episodes, right? So Squid Games. What's the other one that everybody watched? See, Extraordinary Attorney Woo is a K-drama. From an action standpoint, Train to Busan is a movie, but it would be considered a dramatic movie, and a K-drama movie, so to speak. And then there was Borderlands. What's it called? Alice in Borderlands. J drama, if you will, because I think it's in Japanese, isn't it? Or is it in Korean?
I believe it's Japanese.
Yeah. So Korea's not the only ones putting out content like this. C dramas are coming from China. J dramas are coming from Japan. You have J-pop and C-pop artists, etc. So don't just go Asian and paint them all with a big brush. The same way we don't all like to be painted as just black or whatever, because we're all very different. The nuances are amazing over there, and they all bring something different to the table. But Korea is definitely leading the way, especially when it comes to, until recently, relations with the United States. There was a whole lot of cultural exchange. Now folks is canceling concerts because we got a goofball. We got running the country right now. So it is what it is.
I will also say that from an anime standpoint, more and more Korean and Chinese anime are making their way into the anime realm. Everything's not just Japanese. Now, granted, those things, depending on where you watch your anime, will often be translated into Japanese and still with the English subtitles. Where, because I'm thinking of, what was it, The Daily Life of the Immortal King.
Yeah,
is a Chinese animation, but the language is Japanese.
Yeah,
on Crunchyroll.
What's the word? Solo Leveling is
Solo
Korean.
Leveling is Korean, but they did it in Japanese, and you can tell it's Korean.
The names are Korean.
All the names are Korean, and even when they get towards the end of season 2, they talk about the conflict they have with Japan because there's a joint operation where the Japanese hunters come over and help. And you can see their little dig at Japan in there because Japan is trying to do them dirty and get screwed in the process. Spoiler, if you haven't watched season 2 of Solo Leveling, that's your fault.
Yeah, it's been a long time. You should watch it. But a couple of questions that Tony has. What's up with high school boys having harems in an anime? And what's up with high school kids having their own place? So there is a cultural difference there. So the harem thing, if you notice, it's usually like one girl that he loves and then other girls that just kind of hang around. Very rarely is it all equal. Matter of fact, one of my favorite harem anime was Ari Fueta, which is from World's Worst to from Weakling to World's Strongest. I forget what the subtitle, the title was, but Ari Fueta. And he starts off as a weakling in a dungeon. His friends leave him in there. He has to kind of kill things and take their powers by eating them to get stronger. He meets a vampire chick and he has to decide whether to free her or not. He frees her. They become lovers, like for real. That's his girlfriend. But he picks up all these other girls along the way, and they are in high school because he got isekai'd, which
his
means
whole class
translated into another world. Oh, well, let me stop telling you how it goes.
I mean, that's season 1. He should know. We on season 3 now.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, season 1. In my opinion, season 1 had the best theme song. Yeah. Oh, finished season 1 last night. Okay, cool. So season 2 is good. Season 3 I haven't finished yet. But they keep it going. And I will say one thing I don't like about anime is how they change the theme song every year. Because sometimes the theme songs be banging. That's how I got into K-pop in the first place. Was watching. I was hanging out with James and I was watching God of High School.
Oh, yes.
Right. And there was I still know the way the song goes. I know that you want me. Make it hard right now. Keep it a secret. But the word got out, and it's called Contradiction. And it bangs. Contradiction is a banger. And I didn't care what was happening in the show, although the fights were good. I never skipped the intro. It was that good. And I created a playlist called Anime Bangers on Spotify of all the songs that I like from different anime. And I remember sitting in the car with Erica. Erica's my best friend. She's hardcore ARMY, meaning she's a BTS fan. Erica is telling me about, different groups and everything. And I was like, I don't really like K-pop. I just like my anime songs. And she listens to them. And so she goes, ready for the takeoff? I was like, yeah, that's from Blue Exorcist, season 1, outro, blah, blah, blah. She goes, yeah, that's SF9. Rowoon, the guy I showed you earlier. Yeah, that's his song. They didn't write the song for the show. The show borrowed the song.
Right. Yeah. But that's exposure for some of these groups.
Yeah.
It is the intro, the outro for, and that's how I built all my playlists on the different apps that I listen to music on, because naturally, yes, I have my 80s hip hop. I have all my R&B and neo soul stuff. And, I have a specific Sade list or whatever, but I do have multiple lists of multiple artists to pull similar things. And again, I've been heavily watching anime over, like, part of my regular viewing has been anime for the better part of 25, if not 30 years, right? Since graduating high school. And every time a new show comes out, episode 1, I'm going to listen to the intro and the outro, see if I like the song. There's a what are they? They're more like I won't call them a rap group, but they do have a rapper in the group. The group's called Back On. There's an anime I watched called Air Gear. It was about basically inline skating, but the skates did something special or whatever. All the skates did something special. So like you joining crews, but the intro, they did the intro.
Yeah.
It was such a banging intro that I found every single song that they did at the time. Come to find out, they have done multiple intros for multiple Gundam series, which I am a huge Gundam fan.
Interesting.
So
yeah, I found out and like backwards that the group that I ended up falling in love with, which is Stray Kids. Those are my children. Matter of fact, you can see behind me my Stray Kids light stick from when I went to their concert. But they did the intro for season 2 of Tower of God. I'm Falling Up. Hitting some ridiculous high notes. Han and Bang Chan are incredible. But then Felix is another member of Stray Kids, and Lisa, a whole different artist, did the intro for Solo Leveling.
Season 2. Yep.
Season 2. Yeah. And then Creepy Nuts. We cannot forget Don Don and Bling Bang Bang Born from I watched Marshall Muscles and Magic so I could hear that song, and I was really disappointed to find out that was season 2.
That was season 2. You had to go back and watch season 1.
Waiting to hear the song and just for it to be season 2.
Season
and then
2
Don
intro.
Don, like they did the soundtrack for Don Don, and it was
season 1.
It was such a huge part of the success of that show, to be honest.
Yes.
Because I feel like because coming off the popularity of Marshall Muscles and Magic, people knowing that Creepy Nuts had done another song, and what's this? And I know I turned on Down and On because the song was banging and I wanted to see what the show was about. And then they switched it up for season 2. What the hell is this? Why would you not keep a song called Don Don for? You don't need to change every season. Like that's just a whole lot of work. Now that being said, it does give a lot of artists a chance.
Yes.
As opposed to Law and Order been using Goom Goom. And that song for 30 years.
Yes.
Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. Have you seen the dance that goes with it?
Yes.
But I took a swig something. I forgot to mention another thing that comes out of Korea. Soju.
Yeah.
So I'm planning on doing a panel, and I need to go ahead and write this up so I can stop planning and make it a real thing. But
especially considering the show you did last night.
Yes, right. And so there is a contraction, I guess you call it, in Korean language that people use all the time, chimek. And it is a contraction of chicken and mekchu, which is beer. Chicken and beer is so common that they put it together. And I immediately thought of Ludacris' album, Chicken and Beer, right? But beer is not soju. And so they do soju bombs the same way we do sake bombs and stuff. You put the liquor in the beer, blah, blah, blah. But soju, it originally was made with rice, but when there were rice shortages of grains, they started making it with like sweet potatoes, tapioca, and other things in order to preserve the grain of rice to feed people, which kind of turned it into like, some people think like a quasi vodka type of thing, but that's sweet potatoes versus Russian potatoes. It's two very different things. But
yes, they are.
Soju is delicious, and I can see why people will drink bottle after bottle because it tastes like that hunch punch from college that you didn't know what was in it, but it was sweet.
Cotton
and
candy
easy to drink. That's soju. Yeah.
It tastes like cotton candy to me. I ain't gonna lie.
It comes in different flavors. It's like Mad Dog, basically, right? But much more refined, much more elevated than rock gut liquor. But yeah. Soju is another thing that comes out of Korea. Although it was the Mongols, basically north of China, if you look at that other map, that brought the distilling methods into the peninsula. So they didn't originate the distilling, but they did refine and perfect what we now call soju. Yeah, so get you something at H Mart if you live in Atlanta or anywhere that has an H Mart. But so we've hit our hour mark, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. I'm excited to have been able to share what little bit of history that I know about Korea. If you are into things, it's a great way to tie a lot of K-dramas. Like there was another one called Gyeongsung Creature, which is about World War II times, Japanese occupation times, and the experiments that they were doing on Koreans, similar to the experiments that have been done on Black people in the United States. They accidentally make this like weird vampire creature, right? That like lives forever and blah, blah, blah. But it's a good show. It's more of a intrigue, suspense and horror show than it is romance or anything, although there's a love story in it. But yeah, Gyeongsang Creature is good too. And so it's another one that you can look up what was happening at the time to see what historical context they pull from. And I think that would be a good way to experience and enjoy and love the culture of South Korea without being Korea boo, which is basically, I just think when they say Korea boo, they mean you just think the boys are pretty and you don't care about nothing else. Don't be that. But yeah, learn more about the culture, learn more about what's going on there. And as you watch and enjoy all of these amazing entertainment products that they put out, whether it's K-pop or K-dramas or anime or what have you, look up a little bit of like when they say something, what does that mean? Why is that important? You know, this whole show started with people want to know what the hell does Tiger look so weird for? And then finding out more and more and more about South Korea as a country. And so go forth and learn things. And we will catch you next month for the November. Yeah, it won't be Thanksgiving. You know what? That might be what we talk about next month is the lie of Thanksgiving.
Ooh, you know, yeah. I did a presentation at work last year about Thanksgiving. I still have some stuff left over.
I'll let you lead next time then. So next month, James will be leading his Thanksgiving presentation, and I'll be following it up with more from honestly from Michael Harriot, because he's
I'm about to crack that book open too. After DreamHack though, after DreamHack.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that as we go around the world sharing history that people, and like everything that we just talked about. Okay, we will. He says boost these posts because he almost missed this one. We will start to boost these, and thank you for being here. I'll be up at Challenges next Friday getting another body art. Yeah, pay attention to what's going on around you and learn something about another culture. And don't be afraid. You know, instead of getting your money right and everything and going to Jamaica, where everybody been to Jamaica 100 times, go to Korea, go to Japan. They're gonna stare at you and probably try to touch your hair if you're Black, but go anyway and learn and immerse yourself in something different. You may hear that a whole lot of people are racist in Korea and Japan, and they're not. They are, but they're not. It's different. Same, but different. Meaning they are. Some of them, their only knowledge of Black people is from stereotypes they see on TV.
The entertainment. So
if you only watched like the little snippets of news you get from the United States, you would think one, that this is a whole shithole country. It is. And that we are all lower level criminal, et cetera, et cetera. They don't treat us like that when we go over there, but we're so vastly different in size, in color, in hair texture, and everything. We look like aliens. Matter of fact, their word for foreigner and alien is the same thing, Wegugin, right? You can be an alien from another planet or alien from Chicago. It's all the same. You're weird. You look different. And so they're not ashamed of showing you that you look different, but it's not in a inferior, superior kind of way. You don't look like you belong here.
Right.
You know, same thing is like if you caught a little white girl walking down the street in the SWATs, you would look at her stupid. Like, why are you here? So it's the same thing. But I suggest that everybody go and experience another culture, find out what you have in common, and grow from there. And watch some K-dramas. They're great love stories. Crash Landing on You is great. Bon Appetit, Your Majesty just recently came out, and it's great. Another one that I loved, Something in the Rain, which is just a love story, a pure and simple love story, but it's beautiful. But it also speaks to how parents get in the way of their kids' happiness. It's all great. Yeah. So watch some stuff and expand your horizons. Get out, stop watching Real World and Love Island and all the other nonsense that's on TV, and go watch something with, a better character arc. Yeah.
Married in 90 Days.
Yes. 90 Day Fiance and all that nonsense. Get you some soju and some ramen and have a good night. All right. And we will catch you next time. Oh, that's what I meant to say. So the history I've shared tonight wasn't necessarily hidden, but this is a show that is being broadcast in the United States from Atlanta, Georgia. And we didn't know about a lot of this. So it was hidden to us. So we're just sharing. And to all of my Korean American people out there, more than happy to hear your feedback. Tell me what we missed. Tell me what we got wrong. Tell me what I needed to add. And I'm more than happy to do a second episode. And if anybody wants to come join us on the show with more bona fides, come on. Okay. All right. With that, James will take us out, and we will see y'all next month for the Thanksgiving is a Lie episode. Tony, I got you on the K-drama list. I'll send it to you.
Mind's blown. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then. When they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand, yeah.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if we put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course. Cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.